Onslaught's going to be the new PvE wave-based game mode coming with Into the Light, and here are some of the best hunter builds I'd recommend you take into that activity. For hunters, we got a lot of options, so let's not waste any time and dive right into it. Every one of these builds that I'm about to cover is going to have a dim link for it in the description, so if you want to copy any of these builds and test out for yourself and adjust it to how you would like, again, you can totally do so, whether it's on the subclass, the armor mods, even the drip if you'd like. I try to make, all my Guardians drip look at least decent, so if you want to copy any of that stuff, those will all be in the dim links. One of the best builds in my opinion is going to fall under the Void Hunter with Orpheus Rig. With this perk, Uncanny Arrows provides ability energy for each target tethered by deadfall anchors. Movies Quiver has an additional shot. Now it's pretty cool if you toss on deadfall. The thing that it doesn't tell you is that you can get up to 50% of your super back if you tether and kill enough targets, which you can get it back very quickly with the deadfall. It's going to be really good for having control of a large area of the field, and you're going to prevent a lot of enemies getting close to the ADU in Onslaught. For my abilities, I'm going with Gambler's Dodge, Triple Jump, the Snare Bomb, and the Vortex Grenade. Then for my aspects, I got Vanishing Steps. When I dodge, I become invisible. And with Stasis Executioner, if I defeat a target that's affected by a Void debuff, Weaken, Suppressed, or Volatile, it'll grant me invisibility as well. For fragments, I like Echo of Undermining, so now my Void Grenade can weaken targets on top of the Snare Bomb. Next, Echo of Starvation. This one's very important, so when I pick up a Void Breach or an Orb of Power, it grants Devour. With Devour, once it's procced, as long as you continue to get kills, you get health back, and you get grenade energy. So this one's going to be really good for survivability. Next, Echo of Reprisal. I really like this one for Orpheus Rig in particular, and I think with this game mode, it's going to be really good. So Final Blows, when surrounded by combatants, grant super energy. We want that super as quickly as possible. Then lastly, Echo of Harvest. So defeating a weakened target creates an Orb of Power and a Void Breach. This essentially allows us to take advantage of all the weaken that we can pretty much put out there on the field. And if we create an Orb of Power and a Void Breach, we're guaranteed to have Devour almost constantly, which means it's going to be very hard to die. The artifact really isn't set up for the Void subclass, but what I do recommend is tossing on Flint Striker, Torch, Pillar of Ice, Hail the Storm, and then at the bottom, I like From Whence You Came, Wish into Being, and Dragon's Bite. Again, you can choose whatever weapon champion mods that you want, and some of these others you can switch out, but again, these four here and these three at the bottom are definitely necessary. For armor and stats, again, I recommend 100 Resilience down here. I have Intellect at 70 because once I have Font of Wisdom procced here on the helmet, which means all I have to do is collect an Orb Power to have an armor charge, it gives me plus 30 to that Intellect stat. So now I have 100 Intellect, which means I can get my super back basically at the max now. So that's going to be really good. The rest of the mods, I got on Harmonic Siphon with Dynamo on the helmet, Impact Induction, Focusing Strike, and Bolstering Detonation on the arms. For the chest, I'm rocking double harmonic reserves with arc resistance, but you can switch these out however you like. For the boots, I like recuperation with double void weapon surge. And then on the class item, time dilation, powerful attraction, and bomber. For weapons, conditional finality. I really like this thing. It's really good for ad control. We can stop unstoppable champs, but it also has good synergy with the artifact. So we can get Radiant by proccing Flint Striker with a multi-kill with the solar portion of the weapon. We can also have Torch for that bonus weapon damage as long as the target's affected by Strand or Stasis debuffs. If our team's doing that, we can have that bonus. Also, it can proc Pillar of Ice with the first Stasis shot, and then also Hail the Storm once we break that crystal. So there are some benefits here. In the energy slot, Void weapons are going to be king here. Again, I have the Subsistence Onslaught roll here. This thing is fantastic. But if I want that free overshield, having a weapon with Repulsor Brace is definitely going to be key. So defeating a Void debuff target grants an overshield. Again, this Unforgiven with demo. Repulsor Brace is very good. But you can also craft the Age-Old Bond with Repulsor Brace, Golden Tricorn. So this can be extremely good as well. For heavy, same thing. Use your favorite heavy void weapon. Again, I have this Regnant here. You have Retrofit Escapade, whatever fits your fancy. Another void option you can choose is the Gear Falcon's Halberd loadout, which I think is going to be really good for ad control. Not only do you get volatile rounds out of being invisible, which also volatile rounds can pop anti-barrier champs here, but when you're invisible and you defeat a combatant with a finisher, all your weapons gain bonus damage, you and nearby allies gain a reserve overshield and improved class ability regeneration, and to deploy those overshields, you just have to use your class ability. I'm going to opt for the Mobius Quiver super here so I can have good single target DPS. I still got Gambler's Dodge, Triple Jump, Snare Bomb, Vortex Grenade, Vanishing Step, and Stasis Executioner on. Then for fragments, I still have Echo of Undermining and Starvation, but now I have Echo of Obscurity, so Finisher Final Blows grant invisibility, and then also Echo of Cessation. Finisher Final Blows create a burst of void damage that causes nearby combatants to become volatile, but the main thing is defeating volatile targets creates a void breach. And the thing I didn't mention is that when you collect the void breach, you also get class ability energy. I'm using the same artifact perks that I have on Orpheus Rig. And then for the armor mods, pretty much everything's the same. On the helmet, got Harmonic Siphon with double dynamo. For gauntlets, impact induction, focusing strike, and bolstering detonation. On the chest piece, double harmonic reserves with an arc resistance, but like I said, you can change these out. Boots, I got recuperation and double void weapon surge. And then on the class item, I got powerful attraction, changed it out for Reaper because I like this one with this setup in particular, and then also bomber. Weapons pretty much stay the same. I like conditional finality, then use your favorite void, primary and heavy weapon. Next, I think with Arc Hunters, we have a very solid option here with the Assassin's Cowl. With this exotic, powerful melee final blows grant invisibility and restore a portion of your health and shields. Finishers and final blows against more powerful targets increase the duration of invisibility and the amount of health and shields restored. So this is a very good survivability exotic. Now, I like pairing this exotic with the Arc subclass because not only do we have good survivability, but also we can have good single target damage with the Gathering Storm super, but also under our abilities with Gambler's Dodge and Combination Blow. As long as you dodge your target, you get the melee back. With Combination Blow, you get the dodge back. Combination Blow can be stacked up to 3 times, which means you can have a very powerful melee on board, which is really good. For other abilities, I'm using Triple Jump and the Pulse Grenade. For aspects, I like Lethal Current, so this is going to make Combination Blow even better. So after dodging, your next melee attack has increased lunge range, jolts the target, and creates a damaging aftershock. Then damaging any jolted target with a melee attack also blinds them. And then the other one I'm using is Flow State. So defeating a jolted target makes you amplified, and there's going to be a lot of ways we can jolt targets here. But while you're amplified, your dodge recharges more quickly, you are more resilient while dodging, and your reload speed is greatly increased. So there are multiple benefits with Flow State. Then with our fragments, I'm using Spark of Resistance. So when I'm surrounded by combatants, which is more than likely going to be the case in a game mode like Onslaught, you are more resistant to incoming damage. I like Spark of Amplitude, so rapidly defeating targets while you're amplified creates an orb of power. Spark of Shock is good, so your arc grenades can now jolt those targets. And then I like Spark of Feedback on this one because taking melee damage briefly increases your outgoing melee damage. We're going to be close quarters with this one, so having that free bonus is going to be pretty solid. Even though the Arc subclass can't really take advantage of the artifact, we can still use Solar and Stasis weapons to really gain an advantage here. So definitely toss on Flame Fiber and Freeze with Kindling Trigger, Flint Striker, Torch, Pillar of Ice, Hail the Storm, Raise Precision, then also From Whence You Came and Wish Into Being. For armor mods and stats, again, I have Resilience at 100. I am focusing on Discipline as well because we really don't need high mobility or strength because we can get the dodge and the melee back pretty quickly. With Intellect, again, we can get that super back fairly quickly with all the orbs that we're going to create with our team. You really don't need recovery because of all the health regen benefits and, basically survivability aspects with invisibility. But with our armor mods, I do have the Thermodynamic Siphon, which is the Solar Stasis Weapon Siphon from Flame, Fiber, and Freeze, so I can create orbs from Solar and Stasis weapons now. Other mods on the helmet, I got Hands-On and Powerful Friends. For gauntlets, Impact Induction, got 2 of those, and then Heavy-Handed. For the chest piece, I got Soul Reserves, and then some, just resistance mods here, but you can switch some of these out. With boots, still got Recuperation with double Solar Weapon Surge, and then for the class item, Powerful Attraction, Reaper, and Bomber. For weapons, I still really like Conditional Finality here in the top slot, but if you did want to switch this out for a Chill Clip Fusion Rifle, this is going to be very good as well. You have Deliverance, you have the one you can get from the Crucible, Riptide, so you can choose any one of those if you'd like. But for the energy weapon slot, having a Solar Primary is going to be great here. Again, I have the Summoner Adept, Overflow Incan, that's pretty solid. Eptol Integration, Incandescent. Same thing with this Crafted Abyss Defiant and Callous Mini Tool. Both have Incandescent. Having a weapon with Incandescent is going to be very good here. And then same thing with your weapons. Having your favorite Solar Heavy weapon is going to be pretty solid. I have this Crafted Apex Predator. For more precision, I have Briar's Contempt, Cataclysmic. If I did want to switch out, for an exotic, I could go Dragon's Breath here in this slot. Dragon's Breath is really good for that single target damage. Same thing here in the energy slot. I could switch out for Sunshot. The main thing here is that even though I won't have that amplification synergy with the weapons, I can still gain amplification from jolting those targets, and I can gain all these bonuses from just having these weapons on, especially Raised Precision. Once I'm Radiant, whether it's from myself or teammates getting those rapid kills or rapid precision hits, I can cause ignitions with solar weapons. Scorched targets that are unscorched have that bonus damage from targets that are affected by Strand Stasis debuffs, and gain those stasis bonuses with Conditional Finality from freezing targets with Pillar of Ice and Hail the Storm. If you didn't want to use Assassin's Cowl, the Liar's Handshake Gauntlets are probably your second best option. Using your arc melee ability or being hit by a melee attack will allow you to follow up with an extremely powerful melee counterpunch that will heal you. That counterpunch paired with Combination Blow ×3 is still very powerful. and you do get a little bit of health back, but I think the survivability aspect with Assassin's Cowl just completely outweighs that. Next, let's talk about Solar Hunters and why I think Shards of Galanor is going to have a solid place here. With this perk, Sharp Edges, Throwing Knife Final Blows decrease the cooldown of your super, and hits and Final Blows with Blade Barrage will return super energy after the super ends. You can get up to 50% of your super back as long as every knife hits. So if there's a lot of ads around, if there's a boss and you hit every knife on that boss, you can get 50% of your super back. Obviously for the super, you're going to have to use Blade Barrage. For abilities, I got Gambler's Dodge with Triple Jump, Knife Trick because we can throw out 3, scorch targets, and deal precision damage. And then I'm also going to be using the Healing Grenade. For aspects, I like Knock 'em Down for the bonuses to all the supers really, but Blade Barrage is going to allow us to launch more projectiles. And while we're Radiant, Final Blows with your equipped throwing knife fully refund your melee energy. So as long as we're Radiant and we get kills with the knife, we can have the knife indefinitely, which is really good. And then second aspect, on your mark, Precision Final Blows grant you and nearby allies increased weapon handling and reload speed for a short duration, stacks up to 3 times. Or if you use your class ability, you can get max stacks of that. For fragments, Ember of Torches and Empyrean are key here. So you gain Radiant from just hitting an enemy with your melee attack, and then also with Ember of Empyrean, as long as you continue to get Solar Weapon and ability Final Blows, you can extend Restoration and Radiant. We're going to gain Restoration from the Healing Grenade, Radiant from Knife Trick, and as long as we continue to get kills, we can have both of those up indefinitely. We're also going to be pairing this with Ember of Singeing, so your class ability recharges faster when you scorch targets. With Ember of Ashes, you apply more scorch stacks to targets, which means we can cause more ignitions. And then lastly, I really like this one with this season in particular because of Raised Precision, but rapidly defeating multiple targets with Solar Ignitions generates an Orb of Power. For the artifact, we don't need Flint Striker because we're going to gain Radiant from Ember of Torches, but I still like Kindling Trigger, Torch. Definitely toss on Heart of Flame for that bonus super damage, and then also Revitalizing Blast to weaken champs and bosses with our Knife Trick ability. I still got on Raised Precision because what's really cool is that with Knife Trick, Raised Precision still procs, so if you get a precision kill with the throwing knife, guess what? That's going to cause a free ignition. And then I am using Unraveling Orbs and then also Horde Shuttle because I will be using a Strand weapon here. For armor mods and stats, still got 100 resilience and 90 discipline. I definitely want to focus on those. You don't need mobility or strength because we can have the class ability back pretty quickly with Ember of Singeing. And as long as we continue to get kills with the knife, we can have it indefinitely. And we can also dodge with Gambler's Dodge to get it back. Anyway, with recovery, we have the Healing Grenade for restoration. Intellect, that's the other one I would focus on. So just completely ignore my stat there. But to be honest, getting the super back here is really not that bad. For our mods on the helmet, I got Harmonic Siphon with Hands-On and Powerful Friends. For gauntlets, Double Impact Induction, then Heavy-Handed. And then for the chest, got Harmonic Reserves with 2 resistance mods, but you can switch some of these around. With boots, I got Recuperation with Double Solar Weapon Surge. And then the class item, got Time Dilation, Powerful Attraction, and Bomber. For weapons, I did take off conditional finally for Scatter Signal. This thing is fantastic. So I got Slice and Controlled Burst. Slice is very important because if I can use my class ability and apply the Sever Strand debuff, Torch is going to proc. So as long as I'm Radiant and the target's affected by that Strand debuff, I get increased weapon damage. So what I can do is launch a Dragon's Breath shot, dodge, and then just mag dump Scatter Signal. So now these weapons are doing even more damage to the target as long as I am Radiant. And if I'm not, all I have to do is throw Knife Trick because of Ember of Torches. And then for the energy weapon here, I just like a solar energy weapon that's a primary summoner, Epicel Integration, Abyss Defiant, Callous Mini Tool. Things with Incandescent are going to be very good here. Next, let's talk about Stasis Hunter. I really think this is a super underrated one for crowd control, especially since they unnerfed Renewal Grasps at the beginning of the season. With its perk, Depths of Dust Field, your Dust Field grenades have a much larger effect radius. Allies inside the Dust Field take reduced damage, and targets inside the area deal reduced damage. Obviously, Silence the Squall is going to be extremely good for crowd control overall, but for my abilities, I got Gambler's Dodge, Triple Jump, the only melee, which is Withering Blade, which can slow targets, and then obviously for the grenade, we're using Dust Field. For the aspects, I got on Grim Harvest, so defeating slowed or frozen combatants creates stasis shards. These shards grant melee energy when picked up by you or your allies. There's also going to be another use for these, but the other one we're using is Touch of Winter, so we can get the bonus to our Dust Field grenade, so it increases the slow field size even more and creates a small stasis crystal on impact. So now we can have a stasis crystal on top of the Dust Field grenade procs. For the fragments here, I got on Whisper of Refraction, so defeating slowed or frozen targets grants your class ability energy. So again, we can dodge more, which means we can have more melees. With Whisper of Durance, slow that you apply to targets lasts longer. For those abilities that linger, their duration will also increase. I also like Whisper of Shards here, so shattering a stasis crystal temporarily boosts your grenade recharge rate, and then shattering additional stasis crystals increases the duration of this benefit. So as long as we're breaking a stasis crystal, which is going to be another way to do it with conditional finality, which I'll talk about, but as long as we continue to do that, we can have more Dust Field grenades to control the field. And then with Whisper of Conduction, nearby stasis shards track to your position, so the ones that we make from Grim Harvest will now come to us, but also with Whisper of Rhyme, when we collect those stasis shards, we gain an overshield. As long as we continue to gain those stasis shards, having that free overshield is going to be great for survivability. Now for the artifact, we are going to be pairing the Stasis subclass and Conditional Finality with the solar weapon, so definitely toss on Flame Fiber and Freeze again, Kindling Trigger, Flint Striker, Torch, Pillar of Ice, Hail the Storm, and Raise of Precision. For armor mods and stats, as you can see, still got 100 resilience, 100 discipline here, and I do have a heavy focus on mobility here, so having those three is going to be very important. On the armor mods, first up, same thing here on the helmet. I have that thermodynamic siphon for the solar and stasis weapon orb generation. Also like hands on here, then powerful friends. Then for my arms, double impact induction and heavy handed. For the chest piece, got on harmonic reserves with arc and void resistance. If you want to go solar, again, that's totally fine here. You can switch some of these things out. For the boots, still got on recuperation with double solar weapon surge. And then on the class item, time dilation, powerful attraction, and bomber. For weapons, Conditional Finality is just way too good here. Not only for the solar benefits, but for the stasis ones too. So again, defeating a frozen target spawns a stasis crystal. We can freeze the targets with our abilities, but also with Conditional Finality as well. And with another stasis crystal, which means we can break it and proc Whisper of Shards, which means we can get that Dustfield Grenade back, which also is going to have a shard in it because of Touch of Winter. But also with Hail the Storm, shattering frozen targets and stasis crystals deals increased damage, and then shattering stasis crystals releases shards of ice that can damage and slow targets. So not only do we have a very easy way to stop unstopped champs, we have multiple ways to stop overload champs as well. And again, with these solar weapons, use your favorite solar primary and solar heavy weapon. We can also cause ignition with Raised Precision as long as we're radiant from Flint Striker, and we still have all the bonuses from Kindling Trigger and Torch as well. Let's cover the last subclass here, which is going to be Strand Hunter, and I really like the 6 Coyote with this setup. His perk is pretty basic. We gain a second dodge charge. With the Silk Strike Super, again, it's going to be really good for taking out a bunch of adds. For abilities, using Gambler's Dodge, Triple Jump, Thread Spike, and the Shackle Grenade here. I personally like this one for pretty much ad control and stopping unstopped champions. Good thing here is that I could toss out Threaded Spike, dodge, toss out Threaded Spike again, and I have that second dodge with 6 Coyote, so that means I can dodge again and then toss out another Threaded Spike. It's going to cause a lot of sever, and there's a way to have this up very quickly. With aspects, the big one here is Whirling Maelstrom. Again, this is the Beyblade that's going to send out, unraveling projectiles and whatnot. It's going to be really great for ad control, so I'd highly recommend Whirling Maelstrom. For your other aspect, you can choose which one you want. With Widow Silk, you're going to have 2 grenade charges. The grapple is going to have, that grapple point if you would like it. Having double shackle is going to be pretty solid. If you did want to have ensnaring slam, since we have 2 dodges, we can have 2 suspending, burst on impact if we use, our class ability in midair. If you want to use Threaded Spectre as well to have a decoy on the field, so when it's destroyed, it'll explode and then also toss out Threadlings as well. So you could also use Threaded Spectre here. The main one is definitely Whirling Maelstrom though. For my fragments, definitely going to be using Thread of Generation, so when I deal any type of damage, I can get my grenade energy back. Thread of Warding is definitely important, so when I pick up an Orb of Power, I get Woven Mail, which is going to give me that increased damage resistance, even if I'm at 100 resilience. I like Thread of Continuity, so basically any Strand debuff has an increased duration. And then Thread of Mind, I like a lot, so defeating suspended targets grants class ability energy, which means we can have that dodge back a lot. The artifact's pretty kind to the Strand subclass when pairing with solar weapons, so we definitely are going to be using Flame Fiber and Freeze, Flint Striker, Kindling Trigger, Torch, Raise Precision, but we're also tossing on Unraveling Orbs as well, so when we pick up that Orb Power, we get Unraveling Rounds, and then Horde Shuttle, damaging unraveled targets with a weapon occasionally spawns a Threadling. For armor mods and stats, again, Resilience is going to be the big one here. I do like having a focus on Discipline and then also Mobility as well, so those ones are pretty evened out right there. For the armor mods, I am using the Solar Strand Dual Siphon one from Flame Fiber and Freeze, so I can get Orbs of Power from Rapid Solar and Strand Weapon Final Blows. I am using Dynamo here on the helmet as well. For gauntlets, using Impact Induction, Focusing Strike, and Bolstering Detonation. For chest piece, got Harmonic Reserves, Solar Reserves, then also Arc Resistance, but you can switch some of these out if you'd like. For boots, I'm using Recuperation with Solar and Strand Weapon Surge, because I'm going to be using 2 of them consistently, so I want that bonus weapon damage for both. Then, for the class item, Time Dilation, Powerful Attraction, and Bomber. For weapons, I'm using Scatter Signal again. The reason being is because with this, I can actually apply 2 debuffs. Number 1 being Slice after using my class ability, but also with Unraveling Orbs giving me Unraveling Rounds, I can also have Horde Shuttle proc, so damaging unraveled targets with a weapon occasionally spawns a Threadling, so I can apply Sever and Unraveling to 1 target. And with my other solar weapons, having Flint Striker, Kindling Trigger, Torch, and Raise Precision is going to be very good here. I personally like Sunshot since I'm not using an exotic here, but again, any solar primary weapon that has Incandescent is going to work fine here. Epichow, Callous Main Tool, Fist Defiant, Summoner, whatever you got, and then your favorite Solar Heavy weapon. Apex is pretty solid here. Got Briar's Contempt, Cataclysmic, y'all already saw this already. Just use your favorite weapons in these slots here. If you don't want to use the 6 Coyote, you can always use the Foe Tracer Helmet. This one's pretty good for Strand weapon damage in particular. So damaging a powerful combatant or guardian with an ability grants you a temporary bonus to weapon damage matching your subclass type. So once we damage a target with either our melee, Whirling Maelstrom, Shout Grenade, whatever, we get ×4 weapon surge from this helmet for Strand weapons. So that means we can take off one of the Strand ones on the boots, put double solar for our solar weapons here. And then the second portion of it is defeating that target with a weapon matching the damage type of your subclass creates an elemental pickup. That one's really not as important, but having that ×4 Strand weapon damage is kind of insane. So if you wanted to use any other Strand weapons, if you want to use a Strand primary, again, I have this Michael's Reverence. Again, this is the sidearm from Root of Nightmares. You could even put on Tessellation if you'd like, because again, it matches whatever your subclass is. So now it makes it a Strand fusion rifle in the energy slot. Again, you can use a Strand heavy if you would like. It's definitely up to you, but again, having that with the ×4 Strand weapon surge, even with just Scatter Signal, is still going to be pretty solid. Ladies and gentlemen, those are all the Hunter builds I'd recommend taking into the upcoming Onslaught Wave PvE mode with Into the Light. Hunters, y'all are going to be eating good, to be honest. You have great crowd control, great single target damage, great weapon bonuses, great survivability with any single one of these builds that I put out here. So use them to your heart's content. If there's something that you like using or something that you're going to be bringing into Onslaught, definitely let me know in the comments. Again, these are just my recommendations. If you have something that you like using, I definitely want to hear about it. In any event, if what you saw was valuable or entertaining to you, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss out on any other gaming content that I drop here on the channel. Like I mentioned, we do live streams here on YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok all at the same time, a couple days a week. If you would like some updates, again, be sure to follow the Twitch, join the Discord. That link will be in the description. We do run Destiny 2 help, so if you do need help with GMs, dungeons, raids, whatever we're doing during the day and you want to hop in, again, hop in the chat, hop in the Discord. We can help you out. Last thing before I go, if you want to help support the channel even more, you can look into becoming a member. A membership is essentially a Twitch subscription, but on YouTube. It's actually cheaper on YouTube, which is just hilarious in any event. The main thing is that you get access to exclusive emotes, monthly badges, and other cool things here on the channel. Mainly, you get access to some of my exclusive content early. So if you would like more information, all you have to do is press the join button next subscribe, and I'll give you a rundown with all the details you need. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Spinning Boy. We'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.